Welcome, dear friends, to episode 9 of Vandals. I know we take a little bit of break, but we're back. We've got a special guest on the show this time, getting you all hot and bothered for LCQ, and that's Brendan, BcJ, Jensen. Brendan, baby, I'm sorry, I just called you by your last name. How we feeling? Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm feeling great. We're really excited. We're getting ready for the LAN as we speak. I just got done with practice, so we're getting pretty hyped.
Oh man, that was cut off. Your coach just popped by. Thank you again so much for joining me. Thank you so much for doing it right after practice. I appreciate your time. We are going to talk plenty of LCQ. We're going to talk XSET's preparation, how you guys are feeling going into the event. But for those of you who have watched Vandals before, you know that we like to start you off nice and easy. We want to take this opportunity to give the fans a chance to get to know you a bit better. So we're going to start off super nice and easy. Brendan, start me at the top, right? Like the very, very beginning. I know you're a young buck, but start me at the very beginning. When did you start gaming? When did you get into gaming? What did that look like?
It's gotta be like fifth grade, sixth grade, start of middle school. I really started playing like more than sports. Like I was doing a lot of sports growing up, like when I was in elementary school, and when I hit middle school, I had a PS3. I was playing every single COD. Black Ops 1 came out. Every one of my friends was talking about the game. Oh, I'm better than you, stuff like that. And so I started playing console COD for probably about like 6 years. I played all the way until like my freshman year of high school. So that was probably like the first time I really started. And then CSGO was like kind of the first game I played on PC in like freshman year.
Dude, I'm kind of surprised to hear that, to be honest, because there are few console starters in the Valorant space in particular, right? Like I was having a chat with, oh, it was Potter. I was having a chat with Potter, and she, we were talking about each other's background, and I was like, yeah, I competed in COD 4 on console back in the day, in Halo CE and Halo 2, and there was just like this very clear, oh, you're a console gamer, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I act like that now, and like we have people like Baby J in the scene, right? Who
Yeah.
played Halo, and I've played with controller players in Apex, and I make fun of them on my team. So like, I'm there. I'm fully there now. I'm a PC gamer now, but yeah, I used to play only COD.
We almost still have to make fun of it at this point, right? Like, regardless of what our background is, it's part of it. Tell me this, Brent, you mentioned you started off back in COD on console in particular, and there was this like very natural, you're playing with your friends, neighbors, cousins, what have you, and it's fun, right? Like it's playful banter, you're talking trash over Xbox Live or whatever it is. There comes a point though, right, where you make that transition from the casual space to more of the competitive space. Like there's a moment in which you realize, wait a second, I'm pretty dang good at this. What was that moment for you?
I have a lot of those moments, but I'd probably dedicate the biggest one to Battalion 1944. That game was kind of like the start of my tournament competitive career and like winning anything really. Because I played ranked in other games,
Mm-hmm.
but really it was that winning my first tournament, winning my first event online. That was really like the first thing I'd say was like the moment I was like, okay, maybe I should dedicate some more time into this. I could find a really good team. I could win some more tournaments, and I was making money, doing it too. So it was my first tournament in Battalion. It was with Tanaka, Shotties, Pride, and Impaler, and Lord Peanut was like in there. Those guys, do a shout out to them. They were the first team I played with in Battalion, and we won our first event. It was amazing.
Now, even with that, there comes a moment on top of the realization that you're pretty freaking good at this, but there's also the a moment that oftentimes people have to come across, particularly younger folks, when there's a response from family, right? Like oftentimes, well, nowadays maybe less so, but you think at the very beginning it was often like, dude, don't waste your time, your eyes are going to rot out of your head, why don't you go outside, that whole thing. For you specifically, as you transition from playing casually to winning a tournament in Battalion, making money as well, like what did that response look like from your family, from those closest to you? Were they supportive, or what did that look like?
Oh yeah, super supportive. Like I said, I played games all day long for as long as I can remember. And when I started to actually like make some money off it, I started, seeing actual growth, and they saw that I was passionate about it. They were fully on board. My mom and my dad were super supportive the whole time. I still remember coming back from my first LAN. They had posters made of "Welcome back at BcJ" and all this stuff with my gamer tag and battalion. So they were the most supportive by far, and it was so much easier because of that, for sure.
Oh, that's incredible, and that's so wholesome, right? Like, what more could you ask for? Now, tell me this, Brendan. We've talked a bit about Battalion. You mentioned Call of Duty. You've been around the block, right? Let's call
Yeah.
it like it is. You've been around the block. You've done the Battalion thing. You competed some in Blackout, Call of Duty Blackout, Warzone. You did your dance in Apex, and now you're doing it in Valorant. Now, we can hang out here for a little while, but one question I do want to get at you is this: what have been across those different games, because those are vastly different games, right, on a number of different facets, what's been some of the constants across all of those titles that have led you to being so successful in Valorant in particular?
Um, I'd say it's just my love for the shooter genre. I've been playing
Mm,
shooters like as a genre for over 10 years, like literally. And whether it's a fast game or a slow-paced game, I've played Overwatch and Battalion, super slow-paced games, all the way up to like, I mean, even Overwatch is pretty fast at some point, but you got to think of abilities, you got to
right,
play
right.
slow, play with your team. And then I play Apex where I sit in a building all game and then you fight in the last 20 seconds. Like, and then I've played COD where you're fast, 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 pound it down. I've played CS where it's like slow.
Right.
I've played all genres of fast and slow, and I've only played shooters for like my main game as like, the past 10 years. So getting a grasp of how every game works, seeing what games I like to play, and just kind of like learning about how like what makes me the best player in Overwatch, what makes me the best player in Apex, what makes me the best player in Battalion.
Mm,
They're all different reasons and they're all different strengths, and so over time, I was growing certain strengths in certain games, like my communication in Overwatch or my aim in COD or CS. You work on these small things over time and you start to see a lot of growth as a player. And by the time that I was getting into, like, I left Apex and was getting into Valorant, I mean, I remember playing the beta and I was a noob, man. I was losing 10 mans to Flom and I was getting shit on. I was bottom frag. And then I was pissed. I was like, what the hell, man? This is my game. I got to dominate. And so over time, I played so much ranked. I really just learned the game and used my strengths, what I was good at, until I found something I was comfortable in. That ended up being Sova. But yeah, I mean, it's just over time. People always think there's some routine or something I do to be so good at Valorant. It's literally just been playing FPS games for so long,
mm.
and I don't stop. Like, I consistently play Valorant still, like too much, and it's just that I play so goddamn much that I learn every single day that I'm playing.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something there that I want to go back to. When the beta came out, at that point you had already decided, this is it, this is my game, this is what I'm doing.
Um, the Apex scene is really weird,
Mm.
because it's gotten a lot more popular now with streamers. But before the streamer thing started happening, where you can actually make a living off Apex, competitive Apex was all there was. A couple orgs were in, a lot of orgs backed out, including mine. I played for T1 for a year, and then I ended up getting removed from the roster. I played after that. I joined a free agent team with Snipedown, who's now on TSM. He's one of
Mm-hmm.
like the best players of all time.
Old school
We
Halo
made a
guy.
team. Yeah, one of the Halo goats.
Yeah.
We played on a team with a couple of weird free agents. We played with a guy named G Dolph, played with a guy named Android Dream, rotating door of players that we were trying to fill that third slot. But we got second in one of the tournaments, and that was supposed to be a LAN. We were going to qualify for this big Texas LAN, and then COVID hit. Everything shut down. It was all
Mm.
online events.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The online events didn't have a lot of money because the money was coming from the actual TOs. It
Right.
wasn't coming from Apex. So they lost a lot of that prize money. And when that happened, we were playing, like I was still playing a little bit, but I was losing my passion. And then Snipe Down got picked up by Rogue, which was a great move. It's just me and Snipe. We didn't really have a third, so it made sense for him to try to join a new team.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, I mean, Valorant was coming out in like the next month or two, or whatever that timeline was. And so I kind of knew, like, okay, I'm kind of over Apex. It's not been, fair to me. It's not been nice to me. So
Yeah, yeah,
I want to get back to 5v5. I would love to play Valorant full time, and I was able to do so because Apex wasn't doing anything. They
sure.
weren't having huge tournaments, and so I was able to kind of take a full break. And I remember even playing Val when I was a free agent. I would come back to Apex, play the events, get in the grand finals with like previous members from Fnatic. So I still kept that my foot in the door in both
Yeah,
games, whether I got an offer in Apex or whether I got an offer in Val. But like I said, there's just no orgs in Apex. I
right.
mean, we were a top 7 team in that in with Fnatic players that I never played with before, and we were top 7, and we didn't get an org
Yeah.
because that was normal. That was just how it was. If you weren't a top 3 team, you weren't getting an org. And so I kept grinding free agency in Val, and that was like my main focus, and just playing ranked every season until I got an offer from XSET.
Now, but BCJ, you could have gone anywhere, right? Like you have, as we touched on, you have this like insane resume where you've competed at a high level on a number of different games. Valorant wasn't even out yet, and yeah, you may have had some like info on what it was and maybe had seen some stuff, but why Valorant?
It's got to be 5v5, man. 5v5 shooters have
Hmm.
been. I loved CS. I wasn't the best in my friend group actually, but I loved it. I loved playing with my friends. It was super skill intensive. I loved playing it. And then when Battalion came out, I played that after, and that was my game. It was fast paced,
Mm-hmm.
just like CS:GO and strategic, like in strategy wise. But the aiming and the gunplay was exactly what I was so good at in COD. It
Mm-hmm.
was fast paced. I could jump around. That was what really like that was my favorite game of all time. I fell in love with it, and I never got that same feeling in Apex. And I knew that if I could get even just a taste of that in Val, I would love to play 5v5 again, and I'd love to do it. I mean, you don't understand how hard it is to compete in a battle royale, and like how much like torment that was on all of us,
Hmm.
and still is to this day to all my pros out there in Apex. I still talk to a lot of them like all the time, and they're still complaining. But yeah, it's just 5-5, man. It's too good. No randomness. It's pure strategy, pure skill. It's perfect.
Hmm.
It's what I wanted to do. I knew it.
All right, let me ask you this. What does life look like for Brendan Jensen without esports?
Man, I'd probably still be at college. I dropped out of college after my first year. I was playing with T1 and Apex around that time. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got my first offer, I took a break and fully focused on gaming. That's what I've always wanted to do. But if I didn't get that, I mean, I'd be in college. I'd try to do. I was majoring in business management, so I'd probably do something around that line.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I always had the full support from my mom, so I wasn't like struggling financially or anything. They were super supportive of me going to college and stuff, and probably would have moved into my own dorm at that point. Like I would just be doing college and just doing, business management,
Yeah.
and I'd probably just go into one of the fields that major supports.
Hmm. All right, let's move over to XSET talk. Let's move over to LCQ talk. And we can start pretty high level there as well. Generally speaking, you're walking into an 8-team double elimination LAN where one team walks away with the bag, right? How are you feeling?
Right out the gate, we're feeling pretty good. Like I said, I believe we're the favorites, and I think a lot of people think that we can't be favorites. So that's enough for us to, run out there and dominate. But it's always been about us. We don't really care what the media thinks. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
we're going into this event. We got Luminosity first. We got 100 Thieves probably next, or Gen G, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we're worried about. We know that we can beat those guys. We've had really close games in the past. Like we have a track record of beating these teams. So, we're pretty confident. I'd say we're, feeling pretty good. A lot of us have played LAN, some of us haven't. But majority of us have played LANs before, and we enjoy it. It's not like we get nervous or anything. So, I mean, we're all signs are green for us. We're ready to go.
It was actually while I was doing some research on your background in preparation for the show, I didn't realize, and it dawns on me now, and I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You were in Minneapolis for the X Games
Hmm.
when the Apex was there. I was there at that event because I was living there at the time, and I have the X Games pass from
I have mine
Minneapolis.
somewhere. It's in that room over there. It's in that room over there somewhere.
um, So sorry that I just had to touch on that because that just came to mind again. What does preparation look like up until this point for XSET specifically?
Well, we've been scrimming the last week. We've actually been playing in the practice room, so I can move my monitor over. You can see us all playing here. We have the Bose headphones as well. We've been playing with in-ears because we're told that we're supposed to be playing with in-ears. So
Hmm.
we've been playing with those. We've been doing that the whole week. But yeah, just making sure that we're confident, making sure that we're, not getting upset or, and we're just preparing ourselves.
Yeah.
We're doing everything that we can to get, ready for a LAN. Obviously, it's going to be a little different, but like we said, we're playing with our headphone or earbuds. We're doing things differently, and we're trying to get ready for the LAN any way that we can.
So this roster has seen a number of different iterations, right? There was a pre BCJ day to this roster. Most recently, though, I'm talking about the additions of Def and Zekin. What is it that makes this lineup so special? What is it that makes this lineup so different?
Obviously there's so much skill across the board, right? You need that in every top team, but it's really just our communication, our passion. We're one of like the most fluid teams. Like when we're feeling it, we're just running rounds. We might not even call it strat, and we're just running through rounds,
Dang,
like flow
son.
state. And we're just feeling it because we're all very capable to call. We're all pretty
Yeah.
comfortable with each other. We know our limits. We know what we like to do as a unit, and so it's just like when we brought these pieces in, we kind of knew like right off the gate, like okay, we got an IGO who can lead us. We got somebody who's young and is going to play a bunch of new agents like in Zekin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we got those two pieces, and we already had a really good core to go like to start with. We were getting top 8, we were getting top 4 in the qualifiers. Like we had something there,
Yeah.
but we just needed to get to the next step. We weren't quite there, and making those two moves really pushed us over the edge, and we have been so much better because of it, for sure.
You mentioned earlier that you have your first round matchup against Luminosity and then potentially the whoever it is that wins between 100 Thieves and Genji. But I want to talk about that first matchup because XSET as an org has played them 5 times in the last 10 months, which is kind of obscene to think about. In those 5 times, XSET has only lost the series to them once, even with all of the roster changes that we were just talking about. So you kind of paint that picture and you go, well, it'd be kind of easy to look over Luminosity in this point. But from a preparation perspective, how do you make sure, or how is the team making sure there's not an upset early on, that you don't kind of lazily walk into that and make sure you're coming out of the gates swinging?
I mean, we know that nothing's ever easy. It's been our motto.
Hmm.
And obviously, LG is somebody we've had a good track record against, and that's something we feel good about going into it. But, they've had roster changes too.
Yeah.
They've been through it. They have more time together with a new system, new IGL with Dazzle, and new support player in Tig, stuff
Hmm.
like that. So we see that there's going to be some changes in their game. We know that we're pretty confident going in against them, and you combine those two things together, and we play discipline, we play smart, and we're just focusing on playing our game because we respect them, and we know that they could have a couple nice rounds and really pull the game towards their side, even though they might be an upset if they win. But uh, yeah, we know that nothing's ever easy, and we're going to come out strong for sure.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk about this because I was actually just watching. I won't say whose. I was just watching somebody do a pick'ems. There are a lot of people talking about the Cloud9 Blues of the world. A lot of people talking about 100 Thieves, even with their roster changes. Because I mean, yeah, they finished 4th in Berlin, right? That's nothing to scoff at. But there aren't very many people talking about XSET as a favorite to make it out, even with the recent success that you guys have had. And let's just very quickly go over those one more time. You finished second place in Challengers 1 Stage 3, which included wins against 100 Thieves and Sentinels. And it included a Challengers playoff run that was one series away from Berlin. And who beat you? Envy. The Envy that finished second at Berlin, right? Like, those are not bad losses, but for some reason, people aren't on the XSET hype train. Why are people sleeping on you guys?
Um, the biggest thing for me has always been people say that we can't close out a tournament. We haven't won a tournament yet, and that's the proof that they need, right?
Hmm.
But as a team, and I mean, even in the other rosters, we've always known that we've been that we're not going to ever have as much hype as 100 Thieves or these big streamers,
Hmm.
the Wardells
Hmm.
of the world. But we know that we're going to come in. We know that the players know that we're going to give them a fucking crazy game. And we know that it's going to be close. And we know that every game that we play is winnable. And that's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us, willing to grind every single day harder than all these other teams. And when we go into the server against the 100 Thieves, the MVs, we play our game. We know that we're just as good as these guys, if not better. And we shut all the media eye out and just play our game. And that's what keeps us at the top of our game. I mean, those losses, like you were saying, were 11-13s. Both of the games against 100 Thieves were 11-13s. So, like, we know we're right there.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't really matter what people say because this is our tournament. We're going to come in and we're going to dominate.
Float under the radar, baby, and ain't nothing better than that. Let me ask you this. What's one thing about this team, about XSET, that most people don't realize?
That's a toughie. I would say that most people don't realize just about the org is that the org is it's so brand new, man. I mean, like, we just got our first wave of new sponsors. We just got our like 1 year anniversary was a few months ago.
Yeah, that's nuts to think about. Yeah.
So stuff that happens, in Valorant where you see our name for the first time in a tournament and you're like, oh, why don't they have fans? The org is brand new. You know what I mean? Like, we are creating the fan base for ourselves. No other games really have crazy XSET backing just yet. We're all creating our own fan bases for the org. And that's why, honestly, I see more 100 Thieves fans or TSM fans in that case, So yeah, most people don't even realize that, but we don't have too many set reppers out there. You know what I'm saying? We got to get some more set reppers in the chat.
And what a hell of a way to do it, right? Like, to come onto the Valorant scene, to kind of float under the radar, but it's hard to ignore the results that you guys have put together. So I think LCQ is going to be a ton of fun to watch. I'm going to do something a little different on the show. I haven't done this before. We're going to do a rapid fire section. Okay. So it's going to be straight off the top. You got to hit me with whatever comes first and we'll move on. All right.
Got it.
1v1 to win champs. Which teammate do you want in that scenario?
Def.
Who's most likely to whiff on shooting a Sova dart?
Def.
Who's got the best taste in music on the team?
Def.
Crunchy or creamy peanut butter? You can't answer Def here.
Creamy.
Creamy, that's wrong. Which agent would you take on a date?
Sage.
Who's the most gifted mechanical player in the world?
Tens.
Who's the worst dancer on your team?
Our coach, Psycho.
Who's most likely to miss their flight to LA for LCQ?
Probably me.
How do you fix Yoru?
Full rework.
Full rework. All right, not bad. You handled that pretty well. On the show, or on Twitter, and then on Reddit as well, we reached out to the community. It's something that I like to do, where I like to get people's questions that they may want to be able to ask you. There was actually this overwhelmingly awesome response, so people must like you, guy. You're a pretty popular guy. So I want to work through some of those. This first one comes from A New Heaven One from Reddit, and this was actually a really good question. I love this question. What would you say is the difference between a good Sova player versus a player that just plays Sova?
Right. I think there's actually a big distinction. Not many people even realize that, because Sova is one of those roles that doesn't get all of the fights. He might be the last alive majority of the time. He might be in 1v3s a lot, and you might not be in the most favorable, spot to get kills or a ton of crazy stat lines. But so people look at that and gauge you how well you are, how good you are at Sova, and
which is
it's totally wrong,
right.
Because players like myself, Crashies, and Hiko are all great Sovas, even though we all play so differently. It's really important that you know when to use your utility and that you're vocally telling your teammates how to use it. Because one thing for me is I know that if I ping somewhere on the map, I know that whatever I do, I can look up into the sky, either 1 bar or 2 bar, and it will hit in like a 5-meter ring of
Hmm.
that ping. Like I can do that just because of how much I've played.
Right.
Some Sova players who have good mechanical aim, they only focus on the lineups. They can't do that. And so on the fly, they might not have the same lineups that I do, and I don't even call them lineups. It's just I know how to use the ability, or I've
Hmm.
played
Hmm.
Sova so like damn much that I know that that's going to land there, or that this ult's going to hit here, and so this shock's going to break that. And
Hmm.
so really just the utility usage is so key, and what you're doing for the team in a default, what you're doing for a team to get them frags. If someone turns around to shoot a dart and they get a frag because of it, that's huge.
Yeah.
Not a lot of Sovas can do that. If they're communicating to their teammates, hey, I'm going to set this up for you. Let's do it. Not all Sovas do that. They're quiet, and they're constantly having to have their duelists that like tell them, hey, dart this for me, do this for me. Hey,
Hmm.
their IGL's telling them, hey, dart showers this round. And then they look like they don't know what they're doing for the rest of the round because their IGL didn't tell them what to do.
Right.
Like all these things added up make a great Sova player. And if you have that as a full package, you got fragging, you got communication, you got the lineups, you got the time played, then you're officially one of the best Sovas in the game. And there aren't many actually. It's really hard to find like a 5-star Sova. There's a lot of pretty good ones, but not many people who have it, fully down.
Well, and I think you see that in matchmaking, right? Like you see that in solo queue. Is it because you think it's just not a sexy agent to play, right? Like you said at the beginning, you're not going to be top fragging, you're not going to be lighting up the kill feed. Is that the problem? Is that why you don't see this like deep roster of cracked out young Sova players?
Yeah, it's a lot to learn, and it could be scary for a new player to come in. I mean, I
Hmm.
know that I didn't even play it full time until I was on a team and I was forced to, right? So
Hmm.
it makes sense that the new players coming in want to play something a little bit easier, a little bit maybe more comfortable to their, style play. More people will like to pick up something like Sentinel over a Sova, which
Yeah.
I think they're very similar, but Sentinels are a little bit easier to, learn. That
Hmm.
you can do more stuff on your own. Your setups are your own setups. Whereas darting and finding stuff that actually
Yeah.
is worth it takes a lot of trial and error, takes a lot of communication. So it's a lot harder for a good Sova player to get good rather than
Hmm.
something else, any other role in the game.
Very interesting. I think you make a couple of really good points. Um, this question comes in from Hamlet 271. Can you talk about Def's impact on the team's approach to Valorant strategically and on the team culture? So want to hit that from both sides, right? Like Def comes in as a very well-respected IGL. I think we would be remiss not to highlight the insane upgrade that he's been to the team, right? Like the team just looks so much better. They feel better. So I want to talk about that. And then also the culture side of things.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Coming in strategically, he's been great. Our tech sides have been really good with him on board. We feel confident going into plays. Even just in our server time, like you said, the culture has been great. We talk about things much easier. We talk about new strats or new plays we want to do. Our VOD review and stuff has been really nice with him. Just having that experience in the room to know how to act in certain situations, how to perceive problems, how to fix
Hmm.
problems. He's been huge in just giving us, yeah, just that experience and just that culture of being a nice guy in the room that we can lean on, somebody that we trust. And it's been uh, it's been amazing to have him in all aspects, in game and out, for sure.
Hmm. All right, this next one comes in from Coringus. I think I'm saying that correctly. Coringus, if given the opportunity, which pro player would you love to be able to compete alongside?
Um, I thought about it for a little bit, but I didn't have a crazy answer. Mm, I'll say somebody like I've actually always respected somebody like Crashies, even though we play the same role.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people for the longest time would constantly say that other people were better Sovas, or like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that they would underrate, oh, who's the best player in Envy? And no one would say Crashies, you know what I mean? And who's the best player on T1? Nobody would say Crashies. And that guy's been consistently one of the top players in his role for as long as I can remember. And even back in beta, like I knew like I was getting shit on playing with Lex and Grego. This guy was coming in into a new team and he was just owning us. And so I've always respected his game. And now that we play the same role, it's really cool to see how far each of us have come. And yeah, I've definitely got to be Crashies. I've always respected his game.
And even for people who have kind of slept on Crashies up until very recently, there's no way that you look at his performance in Berlin and go, yeah, but he's still okay, right? Like the guy
Yeah.
came out and did big things on big moments consistently. It wasn't just a flash in the pan thing. He came up big for Envy a number of times.
Yeah, I mean, he's easily like one of their best players, if not. So it just is great to, finally get that, chance. I'm so happy for the guys to get out there. Obviously, they were the ones who beat us, so it's a little
Mm.
bittersweet. But yeah, I'm happy to see NA prospering for sure.
All right, next one comes in from newspaperleaf_2. What advice would you give to someone who has aspirations to be a pro Valorant player one day?
It's really just the mentality, and honestly, it's not for everyone. You got to understand that no matter how much you want to try to go pro or in any game, uh, you know, your schedule might not be able to allow that. You
Yeah.
might not have the same support structures of the people. You might not even have a PC that can be better than somebody else's PC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all these factors, you just go in, have fun playing video games as everyone else does, and if something comes of it and you can go pro and you can play competitive, then do it if you want. But it should not be your focus. It should be something as like a secondary goal.
Hmm.
Like, wow, I really enjoy playing games all the time. Wow, I'm pretty good at them. Maybe I can do something with this. And if your schedule allows it, I don't see why you can't try.
And that is one thing that's interesting, because oftentimes the response to that is, well, you go in and you try really hard, right? And you go and you can make it happen, and that's all fine and dandy, and that feels really good. But so, for example, for me, I can love basketball all I want. I'm never gonna dunk. I'm 5'9". Right? Like, it doesn't matter. 5'9" on a good day too. It doesn't matter how much I love basketball. I'm never going to be able to dunk. And I do think, would you say that is kind of a similar comparison that we can make here with Valorant? Like, you can love Valorant, you can have all of the aspirations you want to be a pro gamer, and you can dream about it every single day, but it just doesn't click for some folks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a little difference there with physical difference, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
those same limitations are also in esports. So yeah, it's almost like the exact same metaphor. There are limitations in esports just as in basketball that won't allow you to go pro, and it's just the way it is. That's life.
Yeah. All right, this one comes in from Official Tarek. Who is your favorite Valorant/CS streamer?
Tarek is asking me what his favorite streamer or what my favorite streamer is.
Yeah, this feels like.
Oh man, I'm put on the spot.
This feels like there is a right answer here. Kind of like the crunchy creamy thing that you botched earlier. I don't know
Yes.
how you can navigate this one.
No, I've actually loved playing with Tarek in ranked. He's been super fun and is just somebody that's like always super energetic and is always super serious. But my favorite streamer, my favorite Val streamer, man, this is hard. I would say maybe it's just Sinatra. I I'm very lame. I don't watch a lot of streams just to watch them for fun or something. I'll watch streamers to get better and to
Hmm.
steal strats and tarts. And when I watch Sinatra play Sova, it's like watching a different game.
Hmm.
And so for me, he's always been somebody I can just tune in, learn a couple new things, and enjoy myself while doing that. He's
Hmm.
got a pretty entertaining chat. There's stuff that I can always, laugh at in any stream, and I'm always learning something. So that's big for me, definitely.
All right, this next one comes in from Mr. Trollum. This is actually a really good question too. Who would you rather play in a grand final, Sentinels or Gambit?
Mm, it's tough because my gut wants me to say Gambit, but we know.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like we would play really well against these guys. I think Gambit really abuses rotations and really abuses the fact that people don't really get the game fully yet. And they've got kind of a thing going, just like how Sentinels had a thing going, where they
Mm-hmm.
kind of got the game a little bit before everyone else.
Hmm.
Um, and I think we would match up really well against, both teams, but I think Gambit would be the one. I definitely feel more confident with like Sentinels because, we play them all the time.
And
We played
you've
them
beat
more.
them.
Yeah, and we've beat them. Um, but that's why my gut says Gambit, but my mind and my brain would probably say Sentinels. But I'm a little indifferent there. I definitely feel like both teams could be good matchups for us.
Well, and hopefully, if all goes well, you walk your way into LCQ, you grab that last spot in Berlin for champions, and you get to like actually have it happen and play them both and potentially see how it plays out. Brendan, this has been so much fun. I want to take a moment. I know you, I believe you're flying out here very soon as well. So I just wanted to give you a moment, open up the floor. If you have any shout outs, anyone you want to give some love to, the floor is yours.
There's a lot of shout outs, but the biggest ones for me, all my friends along the way, like the fellowship, a lot of people like my high school buddies who still have a Discord and play Warzone and Valorant together. Those guys who played CS with me for the first time, really got me hooked to gaming. My one of my like top three favorite teammates of all time. You got Lex, PTR, and Snipe Down for teaching me just so much along my way. Those are guys that really I would not be here without them. So those three, plus my friends that have been so must needed emotional support while playing a battle royale. It has been fun, and I definitely couldn't be here without them. So gotta thank those guys.
Love me some Papa Lex. Again, folks, XSET begins their journey through the LCQ and hopefully to champions on October 12th, which is six days from now. So make sure you tune in. You're going to get a chance to see BcJ play along with the rest of his teammates on the big stage on LAN for the first time. I also wanted to take a moment to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any feedback, please let me know. Drop it in the comments. Whoever else you want to see on the next episode. We have plenty more content coming up. But again, wanted to thank BcJ for coming on the show. And lastly, if you appreciated the content, it does help out a ton. If you're willing to support the content via likes, comments, subscribes, whatever it is, the different myriad of things that you can do to engage with the content, please do so. That is going to do it from this episode of Vandals. Again, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Have a good night.